Guys, welcome back to Britt's Book Corner. Today's video is going to be my January reading and writing wrap-up video. So I want to talk about writing first. Writing this month has been pretty much non-existent. It's been pretty much I draft, but I don't read through and revise on any of the other two books that I've already written. Even though I have had plans to sit down and I've scheduled into my planner where I want to put these things, like what I want to do, writing-wise, it's just not happening. They're just not happening, and I think it's because I burnt myself out. I wrote for half of October, all of November, and half of December. So, I mean, that's 2 months every day writing, and I burnt myself out pretty bad on that. So, I'm not going to let this deter me from trying for my February goals. I'm going to take the last few days of January and maybe the first few days of February and see if I can just take a little bit of a break from writing and just forget all about it. Let's get into reading now. So reading-wise this month I did pretty good. I did way better than I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to read about 5 books this month and I read 10. And that's a bigger number, way bigger number than I ever pictured. I've never copied down, written down, or anything like that, any of the books that I've read before. So I just thought my 50 books in a year would be a good solid start. I didn't think that I'd be a fifth of the way through it by the end of the first month. So I think I'll be reevaluating that goal at the end of February. But to read 10 books in January is really good. I mean, I read pretty quickly. And if I actually really like the book, I can read it fairly fast. So 10 books in January is still shocking, and I just can't wait to see how much more I read in February. So the first book I want to talk about today is The Ideal Man by Julie Garwood. This book I truthfully love. It's got that perfect bit of romance and suspense. It's got that, stalker vibe to it. It's a really great book. It's got a doctor, an FBI agent, a creepy stalker, serial killers, gun cells, all that stuff. It's got it all. So it's your typical cop romance, but it's so much better. And The Ideal Man has been a book that I've read so many times that I just keep going back to it because it's still so good. So I highly recommend The Ideal Man to you, and I really think you guys would love it too. So the next book I want to talk to you about is The Rancher's Redemption by Kate Pierce. This book involves a wealthy ex who wants to suddenly take custody of the main character's son, a widowed cowboy who doesn't want to fall in love again, who doesn't want to fall in love because his ex-wife had cancer, who is struggling with that, and the joints and the agreeance of these two characters to come together as partners for the little boy's sake. It's such a good book. It's such a good turnaround, feel-good book that I have to highly recommend it. This book had some really feel-good moments, some breakdown crying moments. I cried quite a few times reading this book, and I can't tell you that I very rarely cry in books, and lately I've been choosing books that I do cry in, but I mean, this book was a really good, uplifting romance, and I'm a sucker for a cowboy romance, so this book, I highly recommend you put it on your to-be-read pile. Next book I want to talk to you about is Keeper of the Heart by Joanna Lindsey. This book is set kind of in the future, and space travel happens, and, there's interplanet wars, there's, just all this stuff. And the daughter, the main character of this book, is basically a princess on her planet. And her father has set up these competitions to find her a life mate, which is a husband. And she's not for that. She doesn't want that. She wants to be able to choose who she wants. She meets somebody totally believing that he's not of her planet and not believing that he's a warrior or anything like that. She wants him, only to find out that he is a warrior, he is of her planet, and so she fights against him. And this whole book is her struggles with, her fears of a warrior, her fears of punishment, her fears of all this stuff, And his struggle is to win her over because he wants her. He's never wanted somebody as much as he's wanted her. He's never been the type to just want one woman, and he wants one woman. And this book is truthfully really good in a futuristic sense. I love this. I've read the entire series now. This is book 2 of the series, and I truly love this series. If you like futuristic with the sense of like a barbarian kind of feel, this book is great for you. The next book I want to talk to you about is The Key of Light by Nora Roberts. This is the first book in the Key trilogy, and I have to say, I love this book. It's got that romance and that paranormal feel to it, that adventure feel to it. I love that about this book. I love that it's like Celtic gods, because I like Celtic history. I like all of that kind of stuff, and this book hits it all. It's got art, it's got ugly couches, massive moose-looking dogs. It's got all this stuff. It's got evil, it's got good, it's got a really great story, and it really pulls you in. This book is absolutely amazing. I truthfully feel that I can read this book over and over again, which I have, and I can read the entire series and know I love this book. And know I love this series, and know this series will never leave my shelf, and it will always and forever be a part of my collection. So I highly recommend this book to you, especially if you like paranormal, but not the vampire werewolf paranormal, but paranormal like gods and goddesses type stuff. So this would be really good for you. The book I want to show you is The Aussie Next Door by Stephanie London. This book is a head over heels romantic comedy. I absolutely love this book. I was fearful of it at first when I found out that the main male character had autism. And sometimes authors don't write characters with autism very well, and so I was afraid of that. And I was absolutely shocked when it was completely well written. He was completely well written. He was completely self-sufficient. He was completely working on his own. He was making his own money. He was doing his own thing. I loved that about this book. I loved that the autism part of it just was kind of like not necessarily on the back burner, but it really was, because you were focusing on him and the female main character, who was a child of the foster care system, who moved to Australia and was now living in fear because her visa was about to expire. And just this whole book was really good, and I absolutely loved it. I cried a couple of times. Again, I'm not a big crier, but I cried a couple times. This book had so many laugh out loud moments, and I love this book. I highly recommend The Aussie Next Door, especially if you want a feel-good romance to make you feel happy and uplifted, because this book was it. I want to talk to you about right now is What's Left of Me by Amanda Maxlin. This book is all about a cancer survivor, a woman who has Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I wasn't sure I was going to like this book at first, only because I've had a grandmother with the exact same cancer, and I remember what my grandmother went through, and I didn't really want to relive that. But I didn't think about it from my grandmother's point of view. I thought about it from my point of view. But reading the book, written in the first person by the cancer patient, and seeing all of her struggles, what makes her self-conscious, what makes her doubt herself, you know, all of the things that happened in this book just made it so amazing. I really, really do truly believe this book was well written. The cancer symptoms, the chemo, all of that was well written. It was well researched. It was amazing. I fully, truthfully recommend What's Left of Me by Amanda Maxlin, just because it is such a touching book. I cried so many times reading this book, not from memories, not from anything like that, but from her struggles, from everything that this woman struggled through. I felt it. So I truthfully recommend this book, and I can't wait for you guys to read it. Next book I want to talk about is Dream With Me by Deborah Clopton. This book is amazing. It's all about a woman who gets a feeling that she has to come to this town and she has to help fix it up, because the older women, the matchmakers of their town, are putting out an article for wives for the single men. And I truthfully love this book. This woman came here expecting to not be a part of that, but to help reinvigorate the city and the town and all that stuff. And she ended up falling in love, and it was amazing. It was well written. I truthfully enjoyed it, and it was such a page turner. What I want to talk about is Reckless Longing by Gina Robinson. This book is absolutely amazing. It's a college romance, and it's between two characters, a girl with mommy issues who her mom wants to always compete with her, wants to compete with her in looks, how she dresses. Her mom was pushing her to get a belly button piercing at 16 because that's what her mother wanted her to do. And her mom really didn't want a child. And this girl moved to this college in search of her biological father because her mother never told her who it was. And she found out who he was and went to this college to meet him. She meets this boy on her first day there. She's in line to get a piercing done, and he's her support person. He is so mysterious. He doesn't like talking about chem. And he doesn't like when she pushes for it or anything like that. And it's a big thing. So this book is so drama filled. It's so amazing. And I have to say, I highly recommend this book. The amount of suspense, the amount of drama, the amount of romance, the amount of banter, it's all so fun. And I truthfully believe that if you read it, you would enjoy it too. This book I want to talk about is Play by Piper Lawson. This book is kind of about a nerdy game developer and a bank, associate. And the bank associate has to, bank this deal, give this guy a loan for his game, and she finds out that he lied. And now she's got to help him get that extra money so she doesn't have to lose her job, lose her position, all that stuff. And she has to make money to help her mom, who is struggling as well. And so this book is so filled with drama, sexual tension, angst. It's such a good book, and it's a really, really great, easy, quick read that I have to recommend to you. If you are into nerdy romances, but not the billionaire portion, because he's not a billionaire, I loved this book. I went in totally thinking this book was going to be your typical nerdy billionaire type thing, and it was not. And so this book I highly, highly recommend. Last book I need to show you is The Liar by Nora Roberts. I featured this in my Nora Roberts book haul. I did a reading vlog on this that will be coming out soon, but this book was amazing. I bought it because I thought it was going to be like The Obsession and Shelter in Place. And it was. This book was absolutely, truthfully wonderful. I fell in love with the characters immediately. I found myself trying to find all these different theories about who the bad guy was, what actually happened, where the stuff was that they were looking for, all this stuff. I was making theories. My theories were being proven wrong. So many curveballs were being thrown at me that I started to doubt my original very first theory. And in the end, my very first theory was true. And I am not one to be like, oh my God, because that's not me. But I truthfully 100% must tell you this book was good. I loved that it was more suspense than it was romance. And I'm not very big on suspense books that don't have a romance aspect, but this book focused more on the suspense than it did anything else. So I truthfully have to tell you, I really recommend The Liar because it just blows me out of the water just even thinking about it. It was such a good book. Every time I was reading it, I couldn't put it down. I had to know what happened. I had to know where all this stuff was. I had to know where things were going to go. So that's the last book, you guys. I'm super excited that I've shown you guys these books. But I want to talk a little bit about how I'm moving into February. I originally made a TBR pile video, and I do still want to stick to those categories, contemporary, historical, paranormal, YA, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think I'm going to stick to those books because I'm getting new books in at a regular basis right now. at a regular basis. Right now I'm getting new books in, and I am finding new books that I want to read that are going to fit these different categories. So I'm hoping that I can still stick with those 5 categories. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys liked my January wrap-up. Comment down below how you did on your reading and writing goals this month, and let me know what you plan to do in February. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.